And then we'll get started so we can focus on the topic at hand. We're going to start off with Mr. Donald Morrissey. You'll see he's Congressional Affairs, Head of Congressional Affairs for Huawei. He will start things off for us. He will be followed by Mr. Michael Sullivan, Managing Partner with Womble, Carlisle, Sandridge, and Rice. Third on the list will be Mr. Peter Beck. Peter is Chairman of the Board of Trustees, the ASCO Europe Foundation, and has been a great partner for some of our programs in addition to SAUPO, but working with many of our students and our faculty on some study abroad programs, and we're glad to have him with us. And last but certainly not least, Mr. K.C. Pong, Executive Vice President of GD Copper USA. And with that, I'm going to get out of the way. We've asked our speakers to try to keep their remarks to 8 minutes. That is not much, but that's so we can have ample time to interact with all of you and perhaps the panelists to interact a little bit with each other too. Thank you again, and we'll start off with Don.
First, I wanted to say to Mr. Mui, I'm not short, I'm not sweet, and only my wife thinks I'm sexy. But I'll do my, but I'll do my best. Secondly, I'd like to thank Kennesaw State, May, especially Todd for putting up with May, and Robin. But particularly Kennesaw State and Dr. Ho, we were talking earlier. This morning, I've had 3 conversations already at this conference, which will involve probably almost a half day's business for me Monday on follow-up. So it's a perfect kind of business conference, and I think that perfectly exemplifies what you're trying to accomplish. And I really thank you for that. We've been honored and proud to be I'd say maybe close to a plank holder for this conference, and we will continue to be. We're always proud to be here. Let me get started if I do this right. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with Huawei. This is Huawei in a nutshell. We are probably in our business, we like to say we build the pipes for the networks. We also make the phones as well. But our primary business is connecting people, and that's what we do. We're in 170 markets globally. We are about 180,000 people strong, of which of that 180,000, 45 to 50% do nothing but R&D, and I'll get back to that in a minute. We have research centers across the United States and globally. The sun never sets on Huawei's R&D efforts, we like to say. This is sort of a map that I sort of hand drew of Huawei's presence. You'll see Atlanta pictured there for an office. And these are our suppliers and our customers across the United States as well. So we're spread across the United States geographically, as well as in terms of demographics and rural areas. May asked me to talk about bringing jobs and partnerships to the United States, and I wanted to make one point, and it's not a Huawei, some of this is Huawei's work, but some academic studies. If you have 20% increase in ICT investment, which is what we do, you see a general 1% increase in a nation's GDP. The localized effects, and I was trained as an economist, the localized effects are much higher. When you see a 20% increase in ICT investments, say in a local urban area or a local rural area, you'll see a larger than 1% GDP increase for that regionalized area. So it's very important both for jobs and for quality of life and for increasing everybody's business. I want to talk about the future and where Huawei sees the future as well, and why what we do we think is important, but why this conference is important in building partnerships. If we look out 9 years, this is what we see as a vendor to the people who provide the connectivity you enjoy. We see 4 billion new internet users. We see 27 cities, I think 3 or 4 of them are already in China, that have populations larger than 10 million. We see 8 billion phones in use. Okay, we see 100 billion connections. That's people-to-people connections, people-to-machine connections, and machine-to-machine connections. And we see the data usage going up exponentially. And just the billing payments for smartphones and individual consumers will be $3 trillion annually in 9 years. That's incredible. This is sort of a more pictograph of how we see the world as that world in 10 years. You basically have sensors, you have intelligent devices, and how they connect with the physical world. And that's what we're building towards with Huawei. But we can't do it without partners. And our partners run the gamut from both our suppliers, our customers, our 36 regional R&D centers where we have university partners, private research R&D partners, even people who are partners who help us with payroll, who help us build an R&D process from idea to deployment, but also in sales partners as well. And when we talk about creating jobs, Huawei does it in 3 different ways. One is the innovation we bring to the market helps create jobs both locally and nationally. Secondly, our direct procurement in the United States for our global supply chain, getting away from just the U.S. market. We have about a $30 billion supply chain globally to support a $75 billion revenue company. A third of that comes directly from the United States. That's about, it'll be $9 billion this year, it'll be about $9.5 to $10 billion next year, and it's grown since I joined the company, and that's followed almost dollar for dollar proportionally the growth of the overall corporate revenue, so it will keep growing that way. The second way we build, jobs here is creating the partnerships, both in R&D but also in deployment, by having a 75% localization rate, which is, I wouldn't say a hard and fast rule, but it's a goal for the company in every market we're in. And thirdly, most importantly, is as we lay out infrastructure on behalf of our customers, who are usually telcos or other broadband providers, okay, that creates jobs. We just did a project which we're going to do a turnkey for, or turn the switch on, in a rural county in California. There is very little connection there. There are about 27,000 students in a huge geographically wide county. Because there was very little connection, the school had a problem with being able to help the children who rely more and more, or the curriculum's more and more web-based, okay? Huawei had a low-cost solution that creates a school system which has its own spectrum allocated by the federal government to allow the children to access 4G technology. They can do it at home, and you've now created almost a network, a very low-cost network in a rural area that was not cost-effective for a major ISP provider to build out there, okay? So now you have 27,000 school kids whose test scores, whose homework availability, whose grades, whose truancy has gone down, plus their families are connected. That creates the efficiency, that creates jobs in that area, okay? We're hoping to do that in parts of southern Georgia as well. We're looking at some communities there. But that's the idea of what we do. We bring innovation, which brings jobs. We bring actual direct jobs in terms of our global supply chain. But all that is based on the partnerships we create with Kennesaw State, with our suppliers, other suppliers, and with our customers. That's how we built a global company, because everyone's a partner. And we treat our suppliers and our customers as a partner, building towards the world that we see in 9 years and beyond. And thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Michael Sullivan, and I am the local speaker here. Our office is across the highway in Atlantic Station, but I dare say that at certain times of the day, my trip across that highway takes a lot longer than their trips in from out of town to get to this very spot. It's a pleasure to be here. We've been a sponsor of SAUPO for several years now, and we're very proud to be a part of this very successful conference and the hard work that May puts into making us all better when we leave here. When we talk about partnership, law firms perhaps are the epitome of a partnership, and certainly our firm is no different. We're 500 lawyers throughout the Southeast. We have an office in Silicon Valley. Through a unique alliance and partnership, we have offices throughout the United Kingdom and every major economic center that allows us to serve our clients globally at a moment's notice. But at Womble Carlyle, what a partnership really is how we work with our clients. Understanding the client's business, working to understand the client's goals, and then putting together the right team of attorneys to form the right partnership with that client is what makes us successful and what makes the client successful. I call it the toolbox of attorney services. When we meet with a client, we understand what the business goals are, what the business challenges are, and then we match that with the right professionals in our operation to form that unique team, that unique partnership that provides success for the client's business, which in the end provides success for our business. But then how does that impact employment, which was the topic for today? Well, the best example, I think, is our economic development team. We have perhaps the most successful economic development team in the Southeast. And as many of you here know, the Southeast, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Mississippi, are open for business. Each of those states prides itself on being business-friendly and compete for your businesses. Our economic development team partners with our clients and then takes that partnership to partner with local communities, municipalities, and state governments where there are incentives for new operations, where there are job training opportunities. And at the end of the day, the successful economic development program places the business in the right community with the right economic supports next to the right job talent, and it supports the local economy, the local school systems, the community colleges, where there is a symbiotic growth, both in the talent that the business needs and in the employment for the area. So when we think of partnership from Womble Carlyle and what we do for our clients, it is taking the partnership with our clients, making it a win-win for our client, but then a win-win for the community as we match the business of the client and its growth to the communities we live and work in every day. Thank you very much for your time.
Everyone, 17 years ago, I left the business scene as an executive, stopped making money, and decided to engage as a $1 man in a non-profit organization. You may wonder why a foundation from Europe across the Atlantic Ocean, not the Pacific Ocean, is taking part in this panel. Well, it is about building partnerships. In the last 4.5 years, the KSU College of Humanities and Social Sciences and the ESCO Europe Foundation, in cooperation with the European Academy in Otzenhausen in Germany, are building, maintaining, and strengthening a US transatlantic partnership. Building a partnership put up some essential questions. First, is there a common interest or idea? Second, is there a balance of assets possible? Third, is there a fair share of expected benefits, not profits? And last but not least, and from my point of view, are there the right people in place on both sides, ready to put in energy, knowledge, and the desire to invest in a lasting partnership? You see, I'm first setting standards for a partnership and do not point out any possible business-related questions or even profit-oriented arguments. It's all about people. This quote may be well known to you all, and consequently, partnerships are initiated by people, not by any machines or software or something like this. So the ESCO Europe Foundation and the Academy, as a well-known platform in Europe for educational activities, are set up for the one and only purpose: bring people together from all over the world, give the chance to meet, to discuss, to understand, to ask, to explore, to be educated, and even make friends for a lifetime. Especially, but not exclusively, targeting people between 18 and 48, maybe 49 too, maybe even people which are older but young in their mind. We address the generation having a great impact on how our one and only world will change to the better. It's all about people. We are convinced and deeply imprinted by the historical development in Europe after World War II. How to maintain partnerships? I think staying in close contact, monitor changes throughout the partnership, react in an open dialogue, adapt to possible new position, decided in a common dialogue. Endangering an existing partnership is caused by the opposite reactions: taking no care about the partner, acting selfish, breaking the rules, discuss in public what should be kept between the partners, lose control in respect to loyalty and reliability. It is easy to analyze even partnerships between states. I think we are full of real, actual arguments about that, not only in the US, but all over the world. Think about organizations which have as basis partnerships, like the NATO, like the UN. Think about the problems in Europe with the European Union, which is, by the way, not the United States of Europe. That's a big, big difference. Look at Brexit, for example. Look at the upcoming national egos around the world, where people still think that they can be on their own. These events and tendencies will, in the long run, endanger the values of our civilization. There's one thing to be sure: time is over for the Lonely Ranger. People, nations, organizations, companies can solve no longer any problem on their own. Look at ISIS, look at the financial crisis, look at political issues. Partnerships are crucial to change and the development of a better world community. Business development, new opportunities, and new jobs will consequently follow. I hope I came up with some ideas to think about. Thank you very much for your attention.
I am with GD Copper, USA. We are based in Henan Province, China. We manufacture copper tubings for air conditioning and refrigeration. So in the hot summer, in hot Atlanta, when you sit in your room enjoying air conditioning and feel cool, we are the one who give you that. When you open your refrigerator, you have a nice cold beer, we are the one who give you that. So people say, no, 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 it's air conditioning manufacturer and refrigerator manufacturer. I say, think about this. We are the copper tubing. We're the blood vessel of a body. Without a blood vessel, you are not going to live. So we are the one who provide the coolness. So we are based in a little town called Pine Hill, Alabama, 10 miles away from Thomasville, Alabama. We have a factory in Mexico as well, and several factories in China. We are the biggest copper tube manufacturer in the world, and we are the biggest copper tube manufacturer in the US. And I dare to claim that we do have the most advanced technology in the world, because most copper tube manufacturers, they use extruding technology, and we don't. We use pulling. It's very, very advanced. And Pine Hill is a small town, about 120 miles from Mobile, Alabama, and population is 1,500 people. I told the mayor of Pine Hill, I say, in China, you are mayor of a building. And then 10 miles away, there's a town called Thomasville, population 5,000. So I told the mayor of Thomasville, I said, in China, you are a mayor of a big building. So even though I'm not from China, I was born and raised in Malaysia, but I'm a Chinese, living in Alabama, so I'm kind of confused right now, actually where I am. So we created about 330 jobs for American, and we have about 80 Chinese employees who are advisors, who are training American employees to take over the factory going forward. And so suddenly, 3 years ago, a whole bunch of Chinese come over, 80 of them. They account for 6% of the population in Pine Hill, out of 1,500. And these people look at us like, oh my God, invasion of China. So scare them to death. A lot of misunderstanding. And the workforce in Pine Hill is about 700. So I told the mayor, I say, we account for half of your workforce. Think about that. The University of Alabama did a study, and we actually have about $45 million economic impact in the surrounding area. People say $45 million is a small number. Compared to Huawei, it's a tiny number. But think about this. This is a town of 1,500 people, and the other city is 5,000 people. $45 million is a huge economic impact. So we create jobs, and we build strategic partnership. We have to build with our customer by providing them with the best product and best service. We talk about people, process, and product. So we have the best process, so we need to have good people in order to produce good product. So our salespeople can build a part of the partnership. Then we have to build partnership with our investor. Then our finance people in China can build that part. Then we have to build relationship with the other stakeholders, which is our employees, the communities, our suppliers, and the government officials. And that happens to be my job, and that is a very challenging job. Because we are a Chinese company, when I taught international business at UAB, I told my students 5 factors. They are very important when you go to another country to do business. Legal, you always have to follow the law. That is very challenging. And then the political, you have to know the politics of the country. And then the economy, the competitors. But the last one is the most important, is a culture. You cannot learn culture, you can only live culture. Chinese, I don't want to speak Asian culture because we are Chinese. Asian are very different. We speak different languages, and we do have slightly different culture as a whole. We are more holistic. We are more high level. We look at things from very high level. We do things, we look at the end result. We are very adaptable. We make changes along the way. In Chinese, we have this saying that we say, 随机应变. We look at the environment, we make changes, we adapt to the environment. And American culture is more planning. They plan on everything. Everything has to be planned. So, and because of that, we created a lot of problems, a lot of misunderstanding. So in order to build the partnership with our employees, with the local government official, with the local communities, so we are involved in a lot of community service. We work with very closely with the local government official, district, the county, the city, and the state. But most of all, our employees, because we do have union in our factory. So we build very close relationship with our union. We don't look at them as a competitor. We look at them as our partner. So because we do need to have good people, good employee who are stable, who can learn our process, and then combine with our process, they make good product so that we can make our customer happy, make our investor happy, and then make our community happy by creating more jobs. Thank you very much.
It seemed to me that, you start off, we're talking about SAUPO and Asia, U.S. partnerships, but clearly one of the themes that came out from all of our presenters and our panelists here this morning was that partnerships may start off with something like this that focuses on U.S. and Asia, but notice how quickly how we covered the globe. And that's one thing that's very, very exciting to me and has been for a number of years, that yes, this is focused on U.S. Asia, but when we get together, there are so many other countries involved, and even the countries within Asia and the United States are also working all over the globe. And I think that's one of the things that's just very, very exciting. Let me start over here, please.
Thank you. I have a question. What are some of the products and services that are most needed in Asia? If there were a new business owner here that wanted to invest in Asia, what are some products and services that are truly needed?
I'm in the service business, so I
Yes,
can't
sir.
speak to the product question, but I'll offer that
Yes.
as economies grow, one of the biggest issues worldwide becomes how they handle their intellectual property. And each country struggles with that issue in its own way. And so as you travel from either the United States to Asia or the United States to Europe, or from Asia to the United States, a key component of any successful business plan will be how that company manages intellectual property in the local customs and in the local law to protect not just its business, but also to prosper within the confines of that economy. So that would be one of the significant issues for any business traveling to a different locale.
Thank you.
Yeah, let me add a little bit, just in general. If you want to know what businesses will present you opportunity in different country, from an international business point of view, as a former professor, I always tell people, look at, I think every country has what they call NEP, National Economic Plan, 20-year plan. So they will list the industry, they will be the engine of growth to grow the economy for the next 20 years. You know, even though I'm not from China, but my specialty is China. When I taught at the university, I studied China. I've been to China 52 times. If you look at the economy, what industry will be growing for the next 20 years, you know, first let's look at the environment. Okay, we know anything that has to do with environment, public health, is going to be good. Let's look at the construction. Let's look at the technology. And China is, you know, going into more and more private insurance, medical insurance, you know, insurance, and also medical equipment, medical side. I think those are all opportunity, and that is a good starting point to look at the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. And this isn't going to be short, sweet, and whatever, right? Yeah.
To some degree. And this would depend, in the United States, this would depend where you come from around the world. Particularly, you know, Europe and NATO countries have a long-term relationship with the United States. I'm sorry, can you hear me? I think, you know, the challenges you face from a foreign company here vary from region to region. There are some political challenges Huawei faces, and I think other Chinese company faces. But I think those tend to be, I wouldn't say industry specific, but they're more industry sensitive. We build critical infrastructure. So Huawei has a sensitivity to, or it is, I wouldn't say trapped, but swims in the sea between Beijing and Washington on a political basis. And that's a formidable challenge for Huawei because we do work in critical infrastructure. And also that is defined how each country defines its critical infrastructure. For example, if you recall, a year or two ago, Smithfield Ham was purchased by a Chinese company, and that had to go through a national security review process. And that kind of caught me by surprise a little, too. So there are some challenges, but I think the advice given earlier was know the culture, certainly know the politics, and not so much have a keen political eye or political expert, but understand what the level of politics may come into country-to-country relationships as a country comes in. They'll be different. A European company going to China will face different attitudes than an American company, largely because of the state relationships between the EU and China and the U.S. So I think it's education up front, particularly in conferences like this, to give people the education and the networking that allows you to get some glimmer of what you don't know. Now I'm going to quote Donald Rumsfeld, okay, the unknowables, okay. If you do that kind of homework up front, whether you're going east or coming west, that's the most important thing you can do. And we've had to learn that lesson as well.
Yeah, if I may add something, since I work for a Chinese company in the U.S., the two areas that are very big challenges to Chinese company. One is legal, because the laws are so different, and the U.S. laws are very complicated, and a lot of them don't make sense, illogical. So, and they don't understand why where I have to do things a certain way. So, and when it comes to culture, is really, really big challenges. When I first joined the company 2.5 years ago, and I have to resolve a lot of issues between Chinese and American, and 99% of them are misunderstanding. And because the American always come to me and say, why are the Chinese always so angry? I say, what do you mean by that? They say, they always fight with each other in the factory, and they talk very rude to us. I say, no. I say, we Chinese are very passionate people. We talk loud, we talk fast, we have a lot of hand motion. So when they talk to you loud and fast with hand motion, doesn't mean they are mad at you. When they talk to each other, doesn't mean they are fighting. That's how we communicate, right? Because we are passionate people. And Chinese advisors, they teach by action, by showing. They don't tell you the theories. They don't explain to you. They say, look, this is how you do, right? And then show you how to do it. And they're not used to that. Americans like to be planned. And then when Chinese advisors make changes along the way, and they say, they don't know what they are doing. I say, they do. They have been in the business for 20, 30 years. They know what they are doing because Chinese like to do things by trial and error. Let me try this, it doesn't work, let me try a second way and third way, and then find the best way, and the American go crazy, right? And those are all challenges, and I think what the Chinese company need when they come to the U.S., not the politics, not the system, because the system is so different, dealing with the government, official government agencies and community and the employee and the suppliers. And number one, the lawyers are going to love me when I say that, find you a good law firm, because whatever you do in this country,
Exchange business cards.
follow the law. This is a rule of law country, okay? Follow law. And then find some people who know both sides of the language and culture very well. We call it a bridge, okay? So find
in speaking the language will help you with that bridge. And very often the business conversations I've been involved with, I translate a lot back and forth between German and English. It's not the words, it's the thinking and everything else behind those words. And sometimes people aren't understanding each other, not because of the language, but because they're coming from different places and assumptions they're making about strategy versus planning and things like that. And I think that's very important.
As for Mr. Morrissey, I think you have an interesting position, and I want to ask how much, at this point, you're able to comment on, now the U.S. has a very administration that's at the least going to be protectionist, and picking up on your comments previously, how are you going to manage your strategy as working for an international / foreign business in the U.S., if you can speak to that?
Well, as a global company, we face issues like that in every region. I mean, you have specific trade agreements that exist with the EU, and we've gone through this as a company, but also as an industry. One of the fulcrums in the EU trade process are so-called anti-dumping statutes, okay, which are either real or can be used politically for concessions, which aren't supposed to be done under WTO, but happen, okay. So I think as a global, we have a strategic trade office, and we have a legal office. So we deal with that in every market, both regionally and as individual companies. As far as U.S. here, interestingly, this is not a Huawei comment, this is my comment from having worked in this area for several years. If you look at the Trump administration so far, whatever you think of it, one thing most pundits or observers would say, that the president has been very specific about going through a list. I mean, he's checking things off that he promised in his campaign. If you want to find the master list, something that was very unpublicized, go on the web and look up Gettysburg Address by candidate Trump, October 23rd, 2016. It has his contract to the voters of the U.S. You will see his list, and he's been going through it, what he wants to do. Surprisingly on that list, we anticipated, because we monitor things being a China headquartered company, I would say that 70% of our revenue and work is outside of China, that he has not focused on China as he said he would in the campaign. I find that somewhat surprising for someone who has, unlike any other new president, has focused very carefully on each of his campaign promises through and through. In addition, I just came from Shanghai, so I read in news accounts, I guess I've lost track of time, yesterday, that there was a specific comment by the president that he would not label China as a currency violator, when in fact that was part of a very specific campaign promise. And I make 2 points about that. One, if you look at the Trump candidacy, going back to late 2015, he was very on message with the same talking points and bullet points as you saw on his website, and very consistent, whether it was December 2015 on his website, whether it was his July nomination acceptance speech, or other comments. Very, very clear, very set bullet points, one of those being currency manipulation. I don't know the ways and words. I just came, as I said, just came from Shanghai, but he's obviously changed his mind there. Okay, so I think that you can't predict anything. If you had asked me 3 months ago or in December, I would have said in the inauguration speech something's going to be announced about China.
And as a follow-up, do you have any advice in this area for young professionals entering international?
May not be what you assume or presume, and so getting to know your partner, their goals, their strategies, their plans, will allow you to better understand what success looks like from their view and how it matches with success in your view. As far as the second part of your question is concerned, I don't think there is any substitute for building personal relationships when it comes to how to go about really any kind of business, particularly successful partnerships across borders or across seas. It's the individual relationship, the time spent getting to know the people, their personalities, their personal goals and desires, that really strengthens the foundation that allows you to have a very successful business relationship.
If you don't know the preconditions and you don't really invest in people management, in telling them what's going on about the culture. An American businessman who is going to Germany, he should know about German culture. A German businessman who's going to China or is going to somewhere else should know about the culture.